Hotep. I titled this Work off of a concept, but not really a concept, off of some statements that a sister made on Instagram. And it's a sister named her page or profile page is called Spread Love, SPRDLOVE. And she's also a very big inspiration as far as I'm concerned to not only me but to also a lot of Africans of the diaspora. I want to start saying that. Um, African women of the diaspora. And basically she went through a period where she went through a depression, suicidal thoughts and everything. And it was hard, for her, from what she's just from things that she said and like some recent Instagram videos and lives. I was like, wow, you would never know it based upon how she carries herself. And that's something I'm going to talk about later as well. But I want to define to people what she, because she said work in term. It takes work to be able to do certain things. Um, Now she used it as a joke when she was talking about a person, like, she was leaving the supermarket and she saw an individual that, rather than take the shopping cart and actually put it where it belonged, I'm just gonna leave it at a parking, just at a parking space and just be lazy. And she's like, it takes work to actually go and do something that you would not normally do. Most people are programmed to just do the bare minimum. And so I was like, man, that made a really good point. But let's take that same statement, work, and actually define what it really means in terms of on a level of mental health. Um, a lot of our people suffer through mental health in silence, and they also commit suicide in silence. And that needs to stop. A lot of us are also shamed, whether male or female. We're shamed in just being quiet, especially, and a lot of us, especially black men, because sisters are allowed to be vulnerable, because the big stereotype of black women is that they're emotional. Um, they just, they need time to heal, whether it be from a bad relationship or just from constant insecurities of whether it be skin tone or their hair or whether it be their size, their weight, and what have you. And people don't understand that insecurities that you've held on to for several years, whether it be 20, 30 years, it could be just 5 to 10 years, that creates a stigma within yourself to not even want to move forward in life or not want to do anything in life. So when I talk about what the symbolism of work is defined as, let's say you're going through a period where you are depressed, and it's okay to admit that you are depressed. And I want us to be able to say it without being scared or without feeling like um, we're gonna be shamed if we say something. Because I could care less what people think of me at this point. I tell people, yes, I am. I suffer through chronic depression. I have suffered through chronic depression since I was 8. Um, and a lot of that started for me when I was sexually assaulted when I was 8, and then it got worse when I was sexually assaulted at 12. And it was deep because that was what created the stigma. And I'm just going to use myself right now as an example. Is that it started a stigma in me where I couldn't look up when I talk. Like, even to this day, sometimes I have tendencies to look down. Sometimes I have tendencies to not project my voice because I'm constantly worrying about the perception of other people. How do I sound? Did I say this correctly? Did I say that correctly? And is real. These things are very prevalent within my life, and it's very difficult sometimes from just to move. And so work comes into play when you don't feel like doing anything, because there's some days where I don't feel like doing anything at all. It's the truth. Some days people don't understand, like with depression is very debilitating. Oh, I see somebody waving. I'll be waving back. um for example, there's some people, and I'm gonna go back to myself in a minute, but I'm just gonna give you another example. You have people like, let's say some people they can't get out of bed. And so some people need sedatives to get out of bed when they're going through a depressive state, man. It's real. Like some people, like I'm gonna give you another example. Um, it takes work to get out of bed some days. It takes real work to get out of bed. And I'm saying that about myself. And if you're suffering, number one, you stop suffering in silence, because that's not work. It takes work to tell the individual that you know loves you, not people who are just around you just because they waiting on something to happen good so they can cash in. I'm talking about real shit, like real work. Like, um, if you are at home and let's say, because me, I'm very antisocial. Like if I don't trust you, I'm not gonna go outside with you. I'm not gonna meet you somewhere. You're not gonna come over my place. I'm not gonna go over yours. We're not gonna have a conversation if I don't trust you. And so it takes, for me, work to be able to say, I'm going to go to this party, or I'm going to go to this event, or I'm going to show my face. Because a lot of times for me, I still have trust issues with individuals, male or female. Some people are just funny, and I don't like being around funny individuals. And some people don't understand that. So in order for me to get out of the antisocial cave that I kind of put myself in, sometimes I just force myself. Sometimes the fear of what you think people are going to see you as, you got to trump that fear by just showing up and saying, hey, I'm here. And whatever happens, happens, and I want to deal with it. And you might surprise yourself, but the only way to do that is to perform the work. It takes work to get up and say, you know what, I'm going to take my shower, put on some good clothes, put on some smelling perfume or cologne, and get out. Leilu say, trust is definitely key. Work is work. Keep at it. Yeah, work. Like I don't, like I say, some days it's comfortable to not do anything. When you're truly depressed, you get in this comfort state where all you want to do is stay home. I'm good. I'm gonna stay home. I ain't going nowhere. Get that. Oh, they got something going on. I'm gonna find a reason not to go. Cause I don't want to be around people I don't like. So that's the easy road out of everything, is to just make the reasoning or truly an excuse to not be able to really connect ourselves. Because we gotta think about it like this. We gotta really think about it like this. Human beings are naturally social. It is a mental health issue if you're constantly by yourself, if you're constantly in a cave by yourself, if you just can't do anything with anybody else, that's an issue within yourself. And most people who have that issue have trauma that's happened to them throughout their life. And a lot of times, most of the trauma, especially in the black community, especially with us, because I'm only really dealing with us, because we're the ones that need to hear this, is that we're always told to bury the trauma. So that same trauma carries on to your adult life, and then guess what? You have issues that you don't know how to deal with when you're 35, 40 years old, because you never dealt with it because you were told not to deal with it. And so sometimes it's too late, because some people commit suicide based on the fear of saying, hey, I just can't deal with what's going on inside of me. But it takes certain people know, like, hey, it takes work. Like, prime example. Again, going back to the beginning, it takes work to get out of bed. Meaning, some people work 9 to 5 jobs and they can do it and they ain't gotta worry about it. They can get up, they ain't gotta set their alarm. They getting up, they ready to go, and they good, they brush their teeth, do what they gotta do, take a shower, drink their coffee, go to work, and it's conscious. They don't have to think about it. For me, sometimes I gotta literally think, like, man, do I really gotta do this? Do I really gotta get up? Why can't I just stay in the bed? Why can't I just, do nothing? I mean, it might sound funny to some people, but for some people, it's a real situation. It's a real situation to be able to get up. I'm sorry, it just is. And so it takes work. I'm gonna keep using the word work because this is, the title. It takes work to get up out of bed to say I'm gonna go to work today. It takes work sometimes to brush your teeth. It takes work sometimes to take your shower. It takes work sometimes to say, hey man, I'm gonna be productive today. I'm gonna write in this book today. I'm gonna make some dinner today. I'm gonna invite some friends over. I'm gonna have a social conversation. We have a social gathering. Because the more and more that you constantly implode within yourself, you will develop an even more horrible stigma within yourself. The moment, because people can tell something's wrong because the moment you're around people, it's like you don't know, you start fidgeting, and it's not about worrying about what people think, but you have to deal with those issues. The issues, depression is something you can't just let, lag and lag and lag and lag until it becomes worse, until you just don't want to live anymore. And forget work, you don't want to be on the planet. You're ready to go. And so everyone just can't take it the same. These are things that we have to learn how to stop doing amongst our own group, amongst our own race, is telling people to get over it. That's a horrible thing to say to people. Horrible. And I want to thank Nife Latrice for telling me that that's the term get over it is a really bad term. You can jump over something. It doesn't necessarily mean that mess that you left, that you jumped over, is gone. It's not going anywhere. It's going to be right there when you look back. It's going to be still sitting there festering. So a lot of the issues that we have that's depression related is based on not dealing with issues that is within ourselves. And so this is the reality that we have to deal with. And so again, it takes real work some days to say, hey, and this is the inspiration. I want people to really pay attention to this, because this is a reality of what we deal with on a daily basis, that some people, they don't want to work, meaning that they just don't want to do anything. Sometimes it's not sometimes, most of the time, it is easy for us to just stay in the bed and do nothing at all. I don't have to work. I don't have to go to the store. I don't have to read no book. I don't have to be productive. But for those who suffer with depression, it takes a lot of energy. For sometimes, and I'm a prime example with myself. I can truly say, man, I get up and I don't think about it as much as I used to. So I can truly say that me creating a repetition for saying, hey, I can do this. I'm good. I can go to the gym. Because for several months ago, I couldn't go to the gym. Couldn't do anything. Stay in the house. I was so worried about running into people that I knew that I wasn't living my own life. And you have to also think is that these people that you're so worried about running into, they're not thinking about you like that. They can give a shit about you. If people, in individuals who aren't checking for you, individuals who aren't even sending you an email, there's so many different we got Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. If an individual ain't checking for you on that level, put them out of your life and move on. You ain't gotta work on them at all because they're not working on you. You understand? Sometimes work is just as little as getting up out of bed and taking a shower, brushing your teeth, doing that. Or just sometimes it takes work to answer the phone. People don't understand, like, just because you don't see an individual at every event that people do, or you don't see them go out, does not mean that they don't care. It's just that, man, sometimes it's just a lot. It's a lot of energy to deal with to deal with other people's energy and other people that just can't stand you. Sometimes it's a lot. Sometimes it really is. And people like to pretend that it's not a lot when for some people it really is. Some people, for me, when I was a child, I couldn't talk to people one-on-one. I just couldn't do it. I felt shame for several years. And so when you're in that mindset, you don't want to talk to anybody. And a lot of that carried over from being 8, when I was 15, 16, when I had to really deal with people socially, and I was part of a sports team and all that stuff, and people looked at me like I was slow, and it's like I was never slow, and I'm not slow now. I just did not know how to deal with people on a social level. And this is something that we have to, as black people, start teaching our children to know how to deal with people socially. And if you, and that's, I like, I like Daddy Kush in terms of, for so many reasons, but just one thing specifically is how he has taught. I'm sure, of course, his wives was around, whoever else female was with him. I'm not sure, whatever, but I don't pay attention to that. But I like that. I like the fact that I look at his children. I'm saying, man, I wish, I don't have children. So when I have children, to have daughters and sons who can eloquently carry themselves in a conversation is beautiful. Whereas I couldn't do that when I was a kid. People think, man, you a great teacher, you this, you that. Imagine if you would have met me when I was 15, 16, you'd be like, man, Ali ain't heading nowhere because he can't even speak in a conversation. You know what I'm saying? Just imagine all our children who, and I'm going off a little bit, but just pay attention to what I'm saying. Imagine all the children who went through trauma in our community, who has been told that you shouldn't talk about that. Let's say they were sexually assaulted, and the thing is with black men, I'm saying specifically black boys, when we're sexually assaulted, we're told to not talk about it because it's like equivalent to your manhood being taken away from you, and that couldn't be farther from the truth because someone tried to take part of your spirit away. Your spirit is now severed because they took your innocence away, and that's wrong. And we need to stop silencing our children, and we definitely need to stop silencing our sisters because the situation with R. Kelly is gonna get worse than R. Kelly because now we're gonna have so many men that's gonna do the same thing in terms of silencing the women, silencing the children. What will be the point? What's the point of us being around if we're not actually solving any problems? But anyway, I digress. But back to what I'm saying. For some reason, for a lot of people, it truly takes real work to say I'm gonna make a change. It takes work on the next level to speak on what I'm going through. What an individual is going through means a lot to them. You don't know what a person is going through. You know what I'm saying? A person can be sad, and I got to get up every day and go to work and act like nothing's wrong, right? I gotta do that every day I work. I gotta do that. I gotta pretend that I have no issues in my life at all in order for me to do a job and to keep that job. I gotta pretend I have no mental illness, and that's society that we live in. See, we live in a capitalistic society where you have to work for this company and you have to be on your best behavior all the time. Whereas other societies, you have something going on, I can't let you work for me, or you're gonna affect the job and the people that we are serving with your issues. Every society is not the same. Some societies actually deal with mental health issues. And see, and I've realized that this is a really very throwaway topic in the black community. You don't see too many lecturers doing classes on mental health, on depression, on suicide. I tried to take my life several times. Roger L. Nash, do you mind if I? Yeah, it's fine. Um, yeah. Truth be told, I'm not ashamed of that. Cause I want people to know, and just happy birthday to the brother Kid Cudi. His music, on a lot of levels saved my life. Cause I couldn't relate. I can relate to a lot of artists, but then some artists, after a while, it got boring to me. Some shit just gets boring to listen to. And with his stuff is very real, and it's not as everything is based on a punchline and metaphor and this and that and this and that. When it just get to the nigga, just get to the point. This is go there. But I totally respect because he actually was honest about dealing with addiction, dealing with trying to take his life several times, and just going through depression throughout his life. Whereas Black men are black men are shamed. As much as we don't want to say this, black men are shamed to carry energy to death. Regardless of what we went through, it could have been black men raped in jail. But we got to act like we never went through rape in jail because we don't want to lose our manhood perceptively in our society. That's the truth. You know, depression is a real situation. Depression for a lot of people, they deal with it, but well, I don't talk about it. I don't like to call it that name. Matter of fact, ain't no such name as depression. It's like, no, you're full of shit. There is a such thing as a chemical imbalance that is triggered based on social ramifications that have happened to you in a part of your life, and usually it happens in your childhood. So yes, there is a such thing as depression, and whoever says that, they're idiots. Depression is not an excuse to be sad. Depression is the result of certain parts of your life. And if you don't deal with those certain parts of your life, you will continue to have certain issues of your life, and it will just get worse and worse and worse until you're just like, I don't want to be here. Some days I don't want to be on Earth. That might sound like you don't want to be on Earth. What planet do you want to be on? I'm like, not Earth. Some days I don't want to be on a planet. And again, some days it takes a lot of me. Some days to get in my car and drive. There's periods of my life where it took work for me to get in my car and just drive to Katy, Texas on I-10 and just to drive. This is real. Sometimes it took a lot out of me to be able to just go to a mall and just walk around and say, man, I can do this. I can be around people. Whereas some days it's bad. Like when people say, hey, you all right? You good? I would say the best answer I can give is streaky. Streaky meaning like, okay, for about 3 or 4 days I'm good, but then it's like 2 days I'm just like, I don't want to do this. And even within those 2 or 3 days where I just don't want to do anything, I still find a way to work my way out of the slump or out of that hole. That's why it's called work. You're working your way out of a mental state that is crippling you. People don't understand what depression does to an individual. You know, it creates physical pain. You understand what I'm saying? When demons inside of you are controlling you and are controlling your actions, then it becomes physical. So yes, it is an issue. And if you don't allow male or female to talk about their issues of depression and suicide, then the statistics of black people committing suicide will get worse and worse and worse. So yes, black people do commit suicide. You know, people got to stop saying that's not true. Yes, it is. Black people do commit suicide. And a lot of us are not allowed to deal with what we deal with. Because we're told to shut up, especially men. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sorry, it just is what it is. You understand? But yeah, I don't want to take all of you all's time tonight. But yeah, I commend individuals who work, who say, man, I ain't gonna stay in this bed. You know, I'm not gonna just sit up here and watch this television or just be online and just scroll. I'm gonna go outside and go for a walk, even if it's just as little as going out and walking. Do you realize how many people who suffer through depression, they can't even walk? They can't even get out there. They have to go in their car to go here. They got, because sometimes to me that's cheating. You got to get up and walk, man. Sometimes you got to just allow the sun to hit you, just to hit the top of your head. Get some energy from that sun. One of the main things I've learned how to do over the last couple of months is ground. Like, even if right now it's cold, so I ain't grounded nowhere. Be some cold ground. But just, if anything, just walk. Like, walking is, as much as people say that's the first form of exercise, is to get the cardiovascular system to operate and function properly. Some people just can't walk. Some people are like, man, I ain't doing that. I'm laying in the bed. Like, some people, an experience that just didn't go their way forces them to stay in the house. You understand? Like, man, I don't even want to deal with it. I'm just gonna cry it out. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go to sleep, and hopefully when I wake up, then it's gonna be good. And you wake up, and it's probably worse. You gotta just accept it, and just learn to look at that situation like, okay, that's the way it happened. I learned from that situation, and I learned not to do that again. That's it. But don't allow that one situation to be the moniker of your life and your being. Because again, you got to realize we got to truly understand that a lot of our people again are suffering in silence. And if you know someone that you know you need to call, don't take it personal if they don't call you first. You understand what I'm saying? Just because a person doesn't call or doesn't email you, that you know is, I'm talking about those that you know is going through depression. Just because they don't call you first does not mean they're being selfish. It just some of us just don't know how to work our way out of it. But again, if you have at least gotten up out of that bed and saying, man, I'm just gonna take, my breath stink, I'm gonna brush my teeth, mouthwash it, and keep it moving, that's work. Because you showing yourself, man, I can get up. I can do this. I can get up out of bed. I can put some water on my face. I can walk around. I don't have to be what my memory is telling me that I am. You know what I'm saying? Because really all that becomes is just memories that go from memories to demons. Memory to regret to demon. And then you have something that you're dragging along with you. It's a bunch of energy that you just can't let go. And that's the issue that a lot of us face is regrets of situations. And oh man, if I do this, man, fuck it, ain't gonna work. I'm done. I ain't gonna, it's whatever. I ain't, forget it. I don't wanna take nobody to do this again. And it's like, man, you gotta sometimes block it out. Sometimes you gotta block it out in order for you to function on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes you have to block it out for the time being, just so you can continue living. Because it was to a point where I was like, I don't want to live. I don't want to kill myself. And so that was, early last year. And then it got to a point where I said, I just don't want to live at all. And that was a very bad place. People don't want to be examples. They just want to tell people of examples. And it's like, I can't feel you if you can't even relate to who I am. See, there's a lot of people who are telling people what they should do and what it's like, don't do this, don't do that. But if you never went through anything, then why does it matter? Who are you talking to? I can talk from experience of depression. You know what I'm saying? I tried to drug it out. I tried to experiment with drugs and it didn't work. Until those drugs I was experimenting on was hurting me. And see, I don't mind being transparent because I don't have to prove anything to anybody anymore. I don't care. My only thing I care about is our well-being as a race, as black people. That's what I care about. And if that's not on the agenda, I don't care about anything else. Please. But anyway, again, work. Sometimes laying there for a while, so even though you might be, all right, I'm gonna get up, all right, I'm up. Once you're up, congratulations, that's work. Because you've allowed yourself to say, I refuse to just stay right there. Imagine where your life would be if you just stayed right there. People talk about cause and effect all the time. And they don't realize cause and effect is real, and it's in and around you all the time. That whole doctrine is real. The doctrine is real. The doctrine of cause and effect is real. If you just laid in that bed and you didn't get up, or you laid on that floor or laid on that couch and you just like, I'm just gonna lay here. Imagine all the things that you could have done if you didn't do that. If you did work and you did decide to go to the gym, imagine where you would be. Imagine where your body would be. Imagine the success story that you can create to inspire other people to be better than themselves, to work. So I just created a whole concept for those who deal with mental health issues and deal with depression and suicidal thoughts to say, hey, you want to work, you got to get up out that bed. If you really want to change your life, you got to say, hey, I can do this. And for some people, it's hard to do that, but it's okay to admit it. Don't let people tell you you can't talk about something that's ailing you. F them. Put them people out of your life. Those who are telling you to cage in your emotions are not worth your time. And that's what I do. If you're not allowing me to speak, what are you around me for? How are you gonna call me family if I can't be real with you? What kind of family is that? That's not family. That's crazy. Most of our family, especially blood family, we can't keep it 100 with them at all. Go figure. I'm the outcast of mostly all my families anyway, so I've accepted it. It is what it is to me, so it doesn't change who I am. But anyway, again, if you again, it's some people. It's imagine being a mom and having to deal with depression on a day-to-day basis, and you have children, and you have to actually cook for your children and bathe your children and clothe your children. Like, just imagine being in that position and actually walking your way and working and doing these things. You got to commend yourself as a woman, as a black woman, that you're able to do that. That's real. And we don't think about things like that. Imagine, like, your mom. You looked up to your mom when you were younger and you didn't realize she was going through mental health issues. She may have been raped in her life. She may have been molested, and she was never able to deal with that. Her parents wouldn't allow her to deal with it. And now she has children. And she's doing her best to not project that same energy onto her children. This is real. Every day I think about whatever I got to do to heal more. To realize, again, I lived through life thinking I was ugly. And every once in a while, I still have insecurity issues about how I look. Go figure. That's who I am. You see what I'm saying? But it takes, for me, it's going to take some time. And I'm 37. So it's going to take time. I still got time. I ain't dead yet. I got time to learn to value my physical appearance. I learned to value what I can bring to the table on a spiritual level. But in terms of physical, I don't really care about that like that. But I've learned now more to care about it more now. And it takes work to look in the mirror and say, okay, I'm gonna do something about this beard and about this hair up here. And that's real. Some men can't, and it's the truth, some men think they're ugly. They go through life and they have no self-confidence. And for them, some people, it takes some men, it takes work to walk up to a woman and speak to a woman and tell her how, hey, how you doing? I just wanted to say you're beautiful. That's work. As much as much as our men like to pretend that they're not going through anything, we are. But it takes special people to ask, hey, how are you doing today? Because most of us don't give a shit about us that much anyway. We're just waiting. Hey, and some people do it just to show, or just to feel, or just to, it's like a front. Because we don't really give a shit about that shit anyway. We don't care that much about each other, but we have to learn how to care. When you care, when you're doing something for someone that you may not get shit back from, that's when you care about a person. When you're feeding an individual, you bringing a person in your home, that's caring. A person can say I love you all day and not give a fuck about you. That's something we don't think about, because it's become very cliche to say I love you and I love you. It's like, I'll see. Then you really know what love is, because then you gotta wait to see it. That's not love. It'll be seen. But yeah, I just want to give people a definition of what my definition of what work is. Different forms of work. But again, for those of you who are suffering in silence or suffering and learning to deal with mental health issues, just realize that you're at least halfway there when you're able to get up out of bed, when you stop making excuses to stay in the house, you're at least learning. You know what I'm saying? You are working. Don't let anyone make you feel like that's not enough, because it is enough. It's more than enough. It's more people out here who they're shamed into being quiet, and don't allow yourself to be shamed, because again, that's work too. To allow to be able to speak about it is work. It is. As much as you don't think it is, it is. Hopefully whoever hopefully whoever has listened to this can take something from this to inspire themselves to work. That's all we want. That's all I want. Hotep. Have a good night.